Smartphones, smart whiskey, cars, and smartphones made to look like cars. Tech News Today is next.
This is Twit. Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Friday, March 6th, 2015. This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Prosper. Prosper is a peer-to-peer lending marketplace that connects people who are looking to borrow money with those who have money to lend. Visit prosper.com/twit and receive a $50 Visa gift card when you get a loan. And by Personal Capital. With Personal Capital, you get award-winning financial tools, unbiased advice, and a transparent view of all your investments. Best of all, it's free. To sign up, go to personalcapital.com/TNT. Tech News Today is the show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. I'm Megan Morrone. Mike is on assignment in Barcelona for Mobile World Congress 2015, but he will be returning Monday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific. That's 1 hour early. We'll cover the Apple announcement at 10 a.m. here on live.twit.tv. But joining us today is Christina Warren from Mashable. How are you doing, Christina?
I'm great.
So you were mentioning before it's Take Your Action Figures to Work Day, but they are sitting at your desk where they need to be, correct? Which action figures do you have with you today?
Well, I have a bunch. So I have a bunch of the Disney Infinity figures, including my favorite right now, which is Maleficent. And I have a Mark Zuckerberg action figure. I actually have a Steve Jobs plush doll, and I have a plush Boo doll. I have a few bobbleheads, but my main action figure today is my Mark Zuckerberg, because having a baby Zuck with you is both creepy and hilarious.
That is true. We're going to talk to Tim Stevens later from CINA, and he has his limited edition Tim Stevens action figure. And I think that someone out there needs to create the Christina Warren action figure. Or maybe they already have, but you just don't have it at your desk.
I don't have one, but I would love one. I would genuinely pay real money for somebody to make a Christina action figure. That would be amazing. Okay. That would be my dream.
Well, the gauntlet is down. Google has released a new version of the Gmail app for iOS. Here to give us his review is Devindra Hardawar, Senior Editor at Engadget. Welcome, Devindra.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Now, do you have your own action figure yet?
I don't have my own. I have a lot of movie action figures. I got this great set from Pacific Rim, which is a lot of fun. I like to play with it.
Great. So you played with the new Gmail app. What's new about it?
Well, the main thing is that they updated the app to support some more iOS 8 features. So from the notification screen, you can actually reply or archive messages directly. And also within your iPhone's little sharing screen, you could choose to send a file straight to Gmail, which makes it easier just to share things with friends. So small updates, but makes it easier to use.
So how does it compare now to the Android version of Gmail? I mean, obviously, Google has kind of gone both ways with the way they've kind of treated iOS. They tend to give it most of the features they give with their Android apps, but I know that Android's integration with Gmail is still really special. So how does this compare with what you can do on the Android version?
I think it's a little better, but the Android version will always be the best. I've tested out plenty of Android phones, and that's one thing that really hurts whenever I go back to my iPhone, because the Android Gmail app just has a great database of all your messages. It's always there in the background. Everything's accessible offline. Whereas the iPhone app, you still need an internet connection for most things. It's not reliably storing your older messages. So I can't, when I'm on the subway, I can't just sit and type out emails with the iPhone app, whereas in the Android app, it is pretty fantastic. It feels almost like a laptop email client.
Well, why would someone use the Gmail app? What does the Gmail app have that the app inbox doesn't have?
I mean, it depends on how you use Gmail. For me personally, I use the priority inbox, which is that feature they, announced a couple years ago, kind of filters out the less important stuff from your inbox and keeps the really important stuff. There are a couple of different apps that do that, but just for me and my workflow, priority inbox is something I use across my work Gmail account, my personal Gmail account. I would be buried under emails without it, and that's really the Gmail app is the only way to see those. Most other apps just don't give you that view.
So you said in your review that you just still like the iOS Outlook app better. Why?
It's really fast. I think it's based off of, was it Acompli, that company Microsoft bought a couple of weeks ago? Yeah. And I tried out their initial email app when that came out. The Outlook one just feels faster. It doesn't give me the priority inbox organization that I really like, but it is super fast and it's more reliable offline, which is important for an email client, especially if you're on a subway or you're somewhere without an internet connection pretty often.
Well, a viewer asked me why you couldn't turn off threaded conversations in the Gmail app. I don't know if that was an old feature. Have you noticed that, or is it just something that he hadn't figured out yet? Can you do that? I mean,
there aren't many features. There aren't many options to turn on or off in the Gmail app. It's pretty much take it or leave it. Threaded conversations is one of those things that's very specific to Gmail, just the way they've handled that. And if you're not used to it by now, then, I don't know what to say.
I don't know how you would not want threaded conversations.
Exactly.
Anymore. I think I would go insane if everything wasn't grouped together. Well, let's move on to the Apple Pay insecurity story that we heard about this week. Thieves are stealing credit card numbers, then entering them into iPhones and using the phones at stores, specifically mostly at the Apple Store, where you can buy the most expensive things. This morning, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that banks are cracking down on fraud, and it's becoming harder to use Apple Pay this way. What do you think? Is this really a problem with Apple Pay?
It's not technically a problem with Apple Pay. It's a problem with the banks and how they authenticate things, like how they authenticate your credit cards across different services. So what Apple Pay, basically Apple Pay is the newest, shiniest thing. And I think whenever a hack or something is associated with a technology like this, that ends up dominating the headlines. But it's not really Apple Pay that's the problem here. It's still secure. Like nobody's seeing your information or your transactions through Apple Pay. What's happening is that the people who steal credit cards, thieves, are authenticating those cards into Apple Pay very easily. And it sounds like that's something that's finally fixed. A lot of banks, my bank, like Bank of America, required, I think, two-factor authentication for me to add Apple Pay. But some banks don't. Like some banks just let you call a customer service rep and provide information that a thief could easily find, like the last 4 digits of your social security number or something. So in that respect, the banks are getting better about that. So hopefully this will calm down. But yeah, to be clear, it's not an Apple Pay problem. It's a bank problem for the same reason that, you get those random calls once in a while that, oh, somebody stole your credit card account or your credit card number, and they have to issue you a new credit card. I don't know if that's ever happened to you guys, but that happens to me several times a year, and it's really annoying. It's just the newest version of that, basically.
So why do you think someone would risk using a stolen credit card in person in this way? I mean, obviously, Apple Pay does let you pay contactless, but wouldn't it conceivably would be easier to, just like steal the card and then like be, in your basement or, behind the internet or whatever and order things that way rather than risking getting caught in person? So why do you think people are abusing? Obviously, as you said, it's not an Apple Pay problem. It's a banking problem. But why do you think Apple Pay is being, I guess, exploited in this way?
I think, I'm not sure how the thieves are working, but in terms of like, if you want to buy stuff in person with the stolen credit card, it's probably better than a card because you just, swipe the thing really quickly. You're not really showing your name to the cashier. There's less of a chance that the cashier is going to like ask you for ID or something. So the speed of the Apple Pay transaction could be really tempting to thieves because I've done it a couple times here in New York for Dwayne Reed. It is really fast. It's like 10 seconds. I pull my phone out, hear the ring, and then you move on. You walk out the door. That alone may be tempting. And using stolen credit cards online, I think for some thieves, that actually raises more red flags with stores and with banks and stuff. So it may be easier just to go somewhere, pick something up, and get the heck out.
Right, that makes sense. How do you have any idea how widespread this problem is, or is it just something that the press makes a good headline?
I think it does make a good headline. Just from the reports I've been seeing, it sounds like there are a couple criminal groups in certain areas. I think Miami and another location that have really caught on with this, but it's not super widespread. You're still far more vulnerable just using your normal credit card than you are with using Apple Pay. So this isn't something that should make people stop using Apple Pay, basically.
Right. And finally, how about a little wrap up of the Mobile World Congress, according to your view, Devindra? What was your take on the week?
Well, I was very annoyed because I'm here in New York and it is freezing and awful. And I'm seeing all this news out of Barcelona. It's amazing there. But I think it's surprising that Mobile World Congress has once again become like a destination event because there are big flagships launching there. The Galaxy S6, HTC's new one. A ton of like hardware that I think is just really interesting, and that CES didn't have much of this year. So I think what this year showed is that Mobile World Congress is a show to pay more attention to. I think a lot of people were saying it's just kind of outdated or dying, and just from what we've seen, I think the Galaxy S6 looks really good for a Samsung phone, even though it looks a lot like an iPhone. Like they clearly haven't given up on lifting some design ideas. The new HTC phone looks very nice. I wish they had changed up that design a bit more. And I'm really excited about the HTC Vive, the VR headset they did together with Valve. We have a write-up of that at Engadget, and our writer, Nicole Lee, she loved it. It is a phenomenal experience, apparently.
Well, thank you so much, Devindra. Devindra Hardawar is a senior editor at Engadget. Are you working on anything else that we can hear about?
I do podcasts about movies at slashfilm.com, so check that out. We'll be reviewing Chappie soon.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Devindra.
Yeah, thank you.
Christina's excited. I am too. Mobile World Congress, of course, wasn't the only convention this week. There was the Game Developers Conference and the Geneva Motor Convention. Joining us this morning is auto expert and CNET editor-at-large Tim Stevens. Welcome, Tim.
Thanks, Megan. How are you?
I am good. So let's talk about some of the car tech you saw at the show and wrote about on CNET. Tell us first about the name that I am going to slaughter, the Koenigsegg Regera. How did I do?
Pretty good. Pretty good. This is the world's most powerful plug-in hybrid car at 1,500 horsepower, the power of something like 10 Toyota Priuses or Prii, depending upon how you want to call it. It has an 1,100 horsepower V8 engine in the back, and it's pretty similar to the CCR and the Agera, some of the previous cars they've made. But then they've bolted on a plug-in hybrid system to pull this up to 1,500 horsepower. It's got 3 electric motors in there, combined to, I think, it's a 9 kilowatt-hour battery pack. So actually a pretty good-sized battery pack, giving it the grand total of 1,500 horsepower. You can drive for 22 kilometers with no gasoline at all if you want to just go on the battery power. But you pull it all together and you've got this ridiculously powerful all-wheel drive car. They didn't give any quotes for performance, but with that much power, you got to be figuring 0 to 60 somewhere around the 2-second range, which is pretty ridiculous. So it's a beautiful car, amazing machine, and it kind of shows what you can do with modern technology. And when you take a hybrid system and you apply it to a supercar instead of an economy car.
Did they let you drive it?
So tell.
No,
Yes, did they?
They did not let you drive it?
You also.
No.
Go ahead, Christina. Sorry.
No, sorry. No. It's a bummer they didn't let you sit in it or drive it. That it looks amazing. You also saw some tires that you said that recharge as you drive. How does that work?
Right. So there's kind of a compromise between low rolling resistance, high fuel mileage tires and kind of sticky, grippy tires that will give you good performance, but they won't necessarily help when it comes to fuel economy or range if you're talking about an EV. You want kind of tires that are as hard as a rock if you want to get the most mileage out of them, but sticky tires if you want to be good cornering and acceleration, that kind of thing. Goodyear's got what they think is a good compromise. Tires that can take the heat out of the tire and run that through basically an internal generator to generate electricity that could then be put back into a battery system for an electric car or for some sort of a hybrid system. They can also take heat from the sun and again, convert that into electricity. So the idea is you could have a fully sticky performance tire, and as it's running along the road and getting hot and getting sticky and giving you good grip, you can then convert that heat into electricity, put it back in the battery pack, and give yourself more range. That's the theory anyway, but these definitely sounded like future conceptual tech. They didn't have any idea for when or if they'd be able to put these into production. My money's probably on them not coming into production, but it's an interesting idea anyway, the idea that you could have the best of both worlds, both good fuel economy and range from your EV, but also have good performance.
So there were also hints that one of the key elements of racing might disappear in the future. The driver, what about these driverless racing cars? It sounds scary.
Right. So in a lot of high-end series like Formula One, there's always a bit of a debate whether you're there cheering for the drivers or whether you're actually cheering for the technology in the cars themselves. Well, a car on display at Geneva definitely answered the question by getting rid of the driver altogether. It's basically what looks like a Formula One car with no driver. Basically, it's called the Torque, and it can drive itself around the racetrack. And if you look at the car, there's no visible cockpit. There's no visible room for a driver. They did say, though, when a lot of people balked at the idea, that you could actually fit a driver inside the car and they could take over when they needed to and let the car kind of drive itself the rest of the time. But as you can see, it's pretty outrageous looking, very, very futuristic. And they want this to be kind of a development platform to be able to develop some sort of autonomous racing series in the future, which on one hand sounds kind of boring. You know, if you take the human element out of it, it's debatable how exciting it would be. But on the other hand, there's a lot of exciting esports with robotics going on right now. And I think it'd be a pretty interesting engineering challenge to see what people could do with autonomous cars on the racetrack.
But I mean, basically at that point, if you don't have drivers in the car, aren't you basically just like, I mean, it's like gigantic RV car races. I mean, like you said, I think it's an interesting engineering challenge, but it's just like rather than adults, you know, kids playing with RV cars, it's like you're doing it the real thing. What was your favorite car at the show, Tim?
Well, that's definitely debatable. There were a lot of lovely cars there, but I had my eye on the Bentley EXP10 Speed 6, which is a really long name, but it's actually a smaller car for them. It's a little two-door coupe, little being a relative term. Bentleys make fairly large cars, but this is a two-door coupe. It's got a lot of the familiar Bentley styling to it, but it's also got kind of a really kind of funky, low, swoopy nose to it. Beautiful green racing color, beautiful lush leather interior, 12-inch touchscreen between the seat, which is interesting. And they kind of mix the old and the new with the instrument cluster in the car. It's got both a multifunction LCD behind the steering wheel, but they also stuck an analog tachometer in there, kind of throwing a nod back to the classic Bentley ways. But as you can see, it's a very interesting color, very interesting car. The headlights are works of art, absolutely gorgeous. They didn't say that they're going to produce it, but they said if customer reaction is good enough, they'll think about it. And certainly it was getting some pretty good reaction from what I could see. Certainly a good reaction from me anyway.
Well, yeah, maybe they'll watch this and then decide that's enough.
And then maybe they'll let me take a test drive.
Maybe they will. Tim Stevens, thank you so much. What are you working on next?
Well, I'm hopping on a jet plane and heading your way Sunday for the Apple event on Monday. So I got that going on. And then I'm going to be testing the new Yamaha R3 sport bike, which will be pretty fun too. That'll be out in San Francisco as well. So yeah, back heading out west again in the near future.
Well, stop by if you get up north.
I'll see what I can do.
All right. Thanks, Tim. Tim Stevens,
thank you.
You're welcome. Tim is the editor-at-large at CNET. And this episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Prosper. Prosper is a peer-to-peer lending marketplace that connects people who are looking to borrow money with those who have money to lend. There are not many good ways to borrow money when you need it. There's your friends, your family, credit card companies, and traditional bank loans, but none of them seem to work the way I want them to. Now there's a low fixed rate loan with Prosper.com. It's a better way. You can borrow up to $35,000 in as few as 5 days. You can use the money for just about anything. You could pay off high credit cards, fix up your house, even put it into your business. I would fix up my house. It needs a lot of fixing, sadly. Prosper's online marketplace connects people who need money with those who want to invest in you. Don't rack up more debt on your credit cards. Pay them off with Prosper. To check your low rate instantly without affecting your good credit, go to prosper.com/twit. Now and for a limited time, Prosper is offering Twit viewers a $50 Visa gift card with your low interest loan. To get up to $35,000 in your account in as few as 5 days, go to prosper.com/twit for this special offer just for Twit viewers. Now on to some more news we're covering. Several news sources are reporting that some of the biggest tech companies in the world are coming out today, so to speak. Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Google, and Microsoft have joined 374 other big companies. They've filed friend of the court brief to convince the Supreme Court to support nationwide marriage equality. The brief says that the current confusing legal standing on same-sex marriage makes it increasingly difficult to conduct business. What do you think about this, Christina?
I think that's great. I mean, and I think actually that this is a really good way of addressing this sort of issue, because you can take any of kind of the social aspect out of it and focus on the fact that, yeah, it does make it hard for people to conduct business when you have a difference between, a same-sex marriage or other marriages, and when the rules are different in different states. It's hard for multinational companies, to deal with things like insurance and stuff like that. And frankly, I mean, I think anything for marriage equality is good, and I'm glad to see these companies standing up and saying something to the court about it.
Me too. And earlier this week, Google's product chief Sundar Pichai announced that the company would be getting into the wireless business, specifically as a mobile virtual network operator. Pichai said that Google was doing this not to compete with the big providers, but to move innovation forward. Now, we expected this to happen slowly, but today we learned that Google's wireless plan might launch at the end of March, and it would only work on Android, no real surprise, but for now it will also only work on one phone, the Nexus 6. And speaking of Google, according to the Wall Street Journal, Google is snubbing DARPA's new robot building contest. The journal says that this is in part because of their recent purchase of the robot builder Shaft, but also that Google wants no part of building robots for the Department of Defense. I'm sorry I didn't let you comment on that last Google story. So do you have any comment on either of these, Christina?
Well, I think it's great that Google doesn't want to build robots for the Department of Defense, but I sometimes do worry about the impending Google army that they might be building that we don't know about. And I think the MVNO story, it's interesting that it might launch that soon. I think though that anytime you limit anything to one specific phone model, then it makes it clear that even if it's coming out sooner than we thought, it's going to be very, very small baby steps because they don't sell a lot of the Nexus devices anyway. And I think, it's going to be a very small percentage of people that will even have the opportunity to try it out. So I look forward to seeing that. But I also hope that Google doesn't build defense robots for anyone, because that scares me.
It's very Iron Man. Google's going all Tony Stark.
It really is. They really are.
So I love it when internet memes get put to good use. Christina, you tweeted this morning. Mashable is running a story on a PSA that uses last week's famous dress. Tell us about this.
Yeah, so this is actually really cool. The Salvation Army chapter in South Africa has created an ad campaign basically about domestic abuse, which is a big problem in South Africa. And they have a woman in a gold and white version of the dress. And it says on it, why is it so hard to see black and blue? And you see her in the gold and white dress, but she has black and blue bruises all over her body. And it's a really profound message, I think, to basically really draw attention to this type of abuse, which often goes undiscussed, and people ignore it, and they have a kind of a follow-up tagline saying the only illusion is if you think it was her choice. And this is bold. This is really, really bold of them to do, and it's great to see the Salvation Army doing this. Earlier, before we started the show, you'd asked if this is something that this was the first time that we've seen a meme kind of be used for social good and social awareness stuff. And it's interesting because we don't really see it happen in the United States, but we see increasingly in Africa and in South America and in parts of Europe, a lot of these agencies, many times even state-funded parts of agencies, using social tools to get messages about whether it's stopping domestic violence or stopping, trafficking or, about sex, safe sex education. They're using these services and they're using memes in this way to reach out to young people, which I think is really great. And quite frankly, something I think that the United States could learn a lot from.
Right. I mean, there was, of course, the ice bucket challenge, but I think, that just became people dumping ice on each other, I think, somewhere along the way. I know it raised a lot of money, but it also, at some point, sort of the message got separated from a little bit. So
absolutely.
In a blog post yesterday, Facebook announced that businesses and celebrities might soon start seeing a drop in their likes as the company goes through accounts and removes likes that have come from pages that have been deactivated or memorialized. Now, I just found this so disturbing. I don't know, maybe it was because I looked at this story at 5 in the morning, but basically they're saying, you can't buy things after you die, so we don't care what you used to like.
Right. I think on the one hand, that makes that's a little creepy. I think when you put it in that context, I do think though when a page has been deactivated, that's probably the best way to treat it, because if the account's not active anymore, then should those likes necessarily count? I think that their way of trying to state it is this is the number of active users who have chosen to like your product. But you're absolutely right. It is a little bit creepy in some sense that if a memorialized page is it's like if you're no longer alive, everything you've done no longer matters in the Facebook ecosystem. Why? Because we can't sell you ads. We can't show you ads and we can't sell you more things. So that's a little, I'm with you. That's a little disturbing.
So Mike Elgan, our news director, is back on Monday, and he sent us a few more clips from his last day at Mobile World Congress. He saw some interesting things. I think we have that video and we can take a look at it.
So, of course, Ubuntu runs not only on smartphones, but also on tablets. And so we're going to be getting a really cool demo here about how Ubuntu looks on a tablet. What is your name and what do you do for Ubuntu?
My name is Victor Palau. I'm responsible for the hardware enablement with partners to bring products to the market with Ubuntu.
Now, what are you holding in your hand?
So here is a concept tablet device. And what we can see here is our standard tablet interface, but also how it becomes a desktop when you get to your office and plug it to your keyboard, mouse, either Bluetooth, or this could also be a phone you plug into a big TV screen.
Now, I'm currently carrying an iPad. I plug a keyboard into it through Bluetooth all the time. It's exactly the same when I put in the keyboard plugged in. It's the same operating system exactly, but this is different. Something changes when you plug in the keyboard, doesn't it?
Right, that's correct. So we feel like when you plug a keyboard, it's because you want to have a different experience, and the operating system should react to that. So
let's check it out.
Let's do that. So this is our tablet experience, and you can see we have different software here, which is very similar to what you've seen on the phone. And this is pretty much oriented to you're in the train, you're consuming your news, you're looking at your pictures. Sometimes you want to be using some of your phone applications, and kind of similar to what you have in the iPad, but instead of having like a stretch or a black screen around it, we have this side stage that you can basically get rid of when you don't need. And then you kind of get to your office, and you can want to keep doing what you were doing, but doing differently. So we can plug it into our keyboard. Just put it on the stand, and we're gonna use a USB keyboard here, but you could use Bluetooth or whatever else you want.
Can't use USB on my iPad, that's for sure.
And there you go. Now you have a full desktop.
So now all of a sudden it's windowing like a desktop operating system.
That's right, and you can do things that you would normally do on your desktop, like bring up a spreadsheet and do your calculations, and now you have a keyboard and mouse, and you can really do that. So hard to do photo editing with your fingers or crunch up some numbers on a spreadsheet. And next time you're ready to go to the meeting, you just need to unplug it and go.
So when can we expect Ubuntu tablets to be on the market?
So Ubuntu tablets are pretty much software-wise ready to go. We're just looking for the right partner to come to market. This you will be able to access also from a mobile phone, where you have your mobile phone experience, you get to a desktop, and you plug it into a bigger screen. And we hope to bring you very soon that concept to reality.
Thank you so much for demonstrating and telling us about Ubuntu on tablets.
You're welcome.
So, Christina, are you a Linux fan?
I am. I mean, I use a Mac day to day, but on the server, certainly I use Linux, and I've been following, the Ubuntu phone project for a long time. So it's good to finally see them having something to show off. I'm a little concerned that they still don't have a hardware partner, and that, that the phones they're bringing out are basically rebadged Android phones with Ubuntu OS on them. But it's awesome to see what their Unity, user interface can do. And I think that demo that Mike did with the guy from Canonical really points that out, because it is very cool to see something go from a touch-based platform to being more desktop-centric just by connecting a keyboard.
Right. And it is interesting that Mike pointed out that his iPad doesn't have the USB port, but as we heard yesterday in the news, that might be what we see by the end of this year, the iPads with USB ports. So
we might. Although, something tells me that Apple's still going to be really encouraging people to just use Bluetooth, which for me, from a tablet scenario, seems to be easier anyway. But yeah, we might. I mean, that's what the rumors are saying. If the mythical iPad Pro actually comes out, which I'm still skeptical about. I tend to think that it's kind of convenient that all of a sudden they can't get yields for the screens. Just because everybody's prediction that this thing was going to come out in March turns out to be false. So, but maybe that's just me being cynical.
Well, we have one more clip from Mike. It's a little bit on the lighter side, something else that he spotted at Mobile World Congress and thought it was important for us to know.
Hi, and now we're going to introduce you to the Internet of Whiskey, IOW, I think it's called. You are with Thinfilm. What is your name, and what do you do for Thinfilm?
My name is Bill Cummings. I'm Vice President of Marketing and Communications.
And Thinfilm is based where?
Headquartered in Oslo, Norway. We also have offices in San Jose, Silicon Valley, USA, and also in Linköping, Sweden.
Wonderful. So what are you demonstrating here? I see a couple of bottles of whiskey and a couple of phones. What the heck is going on here?
Yeah. Well, what we're demonstrating is a new product that we launched just prior to Mobile World Congress, and we've been showcasing it here, called OpenSense. OpenSense is a printed electronics tag. It's a small form factor, it's flexible, and it uses NFC wireless technology to read the tag. What we're doing with Johnny Walker, and we've partnered with the folks at Diageo, to create these prototype bottles and explore the possibilities.
Now, Diageo is a drinks distributor or what do they do?
They're the largest spirits manufacturer in the world.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And they're based in the UK, right?
They're based in the UK. They're very consumer focused, and through their venture arm, it's a group called Diageo Technology Ventures, they are searching for innovative technologies that they can incorporate into their brand, into their products, to drive consumer engagement and strengthen relationships with their consumers.
Now, this technology that you are showcasing here is called OpenSense. Does that mean it can sense when a bottle is open?
It can, yes. And I'll explain how that happens. So the tag, as I was explaining, is incorporated into the Johnnie Walker Blue label. It's right behind here, and you can see if you read that and zoom in, you see the NFC or wireless signal, encouraging folks to tap with their smartphone. And what happens is this tag has actually two unique IDs, and it can sense when a bottle is factory sealed and when the bottle is open. And I'll demonstrate that right now using a smartphone. So we'll turn this on. So I'm taking the closed bottle. You can see still factory sealed. I tap it with the smartphone, and you can see the message that comes up. Now, this particular message, I believe, says, ready to open your bottle of Johnnie Walker. So this is the factory sealed ID, and the content of this pushed out, because it's sensing the bottle is closed, we can assume the consumer is in a retail environment, perhaps they're making a buying decision. So we would send relevant contextual content for that particular scenario.
Now, I imagine that before the consumer even gets any access to it, the store, the retail location, can also use the same technology to make sure that it hasn't been tampered with, that this is not a counterfeit bottle of whiskey, for example.
Absolutely. There are applications there for the brand as well, authentication purposes. But yes, beyond consumer, there's also a B2B application. You can see that this particular NFC-enabled smart device is more of an industrial reader. So someone on a shop floor in a retail setting would take this smartphone, and you can see I'll take the open bottle, or excuse me, the closed bottle. I'll read it, and you can see the message that pops up here is much more B2B in nature. We're talking about date of bottling, SKU number, destination, quantity of cases.
I have real concerns about whether that bottle could be hacked. What about you, Christina?
Yes, as do I. I'm very concerned. I want to make sure that my Johnnie Walker is my Johnnie Walker, and I don't want it to say that it's red when it's really black, or vice versa. No, I think that's really cool. Although I'm going to ask you, Megan, I mean, do you really think that when you're about to pour a drink, you're going to want to hold your phone up to the bottle to see an advertisement? I don't know if I'm really going to do that myself.
No, I'm busy taking a selfie of me.
Now, if they could build the NFC reader into the camera so that you take the selfie, you post it, and then you get a little message, then maybe they would get some engagement.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know. We'll see. I have some, like I said, some serious concerns about this smart whiskey bottle. Let's move on to other more security news. We've been talking all week about the freak flaw that compromises SSL. We told you that OS X, iOS, and Android were the only operating systems vulnerable to the flaw. Now it turns out that Windows users are also affected. Yesterday, a Microsoft security advisory confirmed that the vulnerability affects all supported releases of Microsoft Windows. Are you surprised by this?
Wow, shocker. Not really. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. This is it's the gift that keeps on giving, and yet another reason for everyone to always keep your software updated, assuming of course that it's still supported by the maker.
Well, I was really rooting for Windows, for Microsoft. It was the first security story we've seen that they're not involved in. And I know there were people there cheering, so it's a little bit sad.
We were like, oh, yes. It is a little sad. No, because you're right. It was one of those things where like, oh, my God, finally Windows has a win. Oh, my God, IIS is finally winning. And then it's like, no, actually, guys, no.
Well, now in our big numbers section, $126.41. That was the price of Apple stock at yesterday's close. This morning, the Wall Street Journal reported that Apple will join the Dow Jones Industrial Average on March 18th. Apple will be the sixth biggest constituent of the blue chip index, and Apple will replace AT&T. So I'm not exactly sure how that works. You can only have a certain amount on the blue chip index, Christina?
Exactly. I mean, basically, it's basically they're looking at stocks and saying this is a better representation of what's going to be making up kind of the market. This company is more important to the overall index than AT&T was, and so I mean, it's huge that Apple is now part of this.
And in the news you can lose segment, did you know you could buy a Lamborghini smartphone, Christina? Did you know that you could do that?
I did not. Did not.
Do you have any guesses how much a Lamborghini smartphone would cost you?
Well, I know that the Porsche design Blackberries are ridiculously expensive, so I don't know, what, $5,000? I'm just guessing.
Close.
I have no idea.
That was a good guess. I just threw that right at you. It's $6,300. And in case you have that much money burning a hole in your pocket, you can get one of these. I asked Tim Stevens about it, Tim and Devindra about it. Devindra actually saw one at CES. He said it was quite gaudy. And hopefully he didn't say this off the record, but he said he wouldn't even know someone who would own one of these. So it's the Tonino Lamborghini 88 Tori. Yeah, it's a limited edition. The specs aren't even that good. I think you're just paying for the name and
you're paying for. Yep.
And also apparently there's a case that opens like a Lamborghini hood.
No, I mean, there's a very small number of people that I guess this is aimed at, and maybe those diehards will buy it. Everybody else is going to be like, yeah, this is probably a mid-spec phone that is $6,800. It reminds me of the company that Nokia used to own, Vertu, which now I think they just sell overpriced Android phones encased in gold and Swarovski crystals, and they go for ridiculous sums of money. I mean, hey, I guess that if I were someone living in the UAE and I had a bunch of oil money that I just needed to blow, I mean, hopefully I would buy better things than this, but if you got it, why not?
I guess. Or spend it on a PSA campaign. I don't know.
But that would be better for me. I think that would be better, or I would just rather buy something more fun or at least higher end. But hey, I mean, cool.
Well, it might cost that much money for someone to create an official Christina Warren action figure. So maybe that's what they should spend the money on.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Although if anybody's going to spend that much on an action figure of me, I think you've way overpaid.
Okay. Personalcapital.com is a sponsor of Tech News Today. A lot of investors are charged high fees and hidden costs by their traditional brokers, mutual funds, and on their 401ks. These costs add up and could steal years from your retirement. Personal Capital is free and secure, and it's already helping more than 700,000 investors just like you identify and eliminate high fees and manage and grow their wealth. It's your money, so keep more of it. It's time to trade up. Your broker may be taking money from your pocket with all those hidden fees and no transparency. They win and you lose, but not with Personal Capital. Personal Capital, you'll get award-winning tools, unbiased advice, and a transparent view of your investments. Personal Capital is a complete, intuitive financial dashboard with all your accounts in one place so you can make smarter financial decisions and manage your portfolio like a pro. It depends on your risk tolerance, your financial goals, your time horizon. Everybody is different. But with an advisor at Personal Capital, you can get help knowing which is what you need. It's a new free offer. All you have to do is track your accounts worth $100,000 or more on the Personal Capital dashboard, and you'll qualify for a 30-minute review with a counselor. You'll also get tailored advice on optimizing your investment. So why wait? Take control of your financial future. Personal Capital gives you total clarity and transparency to make better investment decisions right away. You can get a free no-obligation portfolio consultation when you link $100,000 or more in assets on the Personal Capital dashboard. It's easy to do, and the results may benefit you for the rest of your life. As soon as you link your accounts with $100,000 or more in assets, Personal Capital will contact you for a free 30-minute portfolio consultation. Just set up your free account at personalcapital.com/TNT, and we thank Personal Capital for their support of Tech News Today. And our TNT fan of the day is ChipsT95. He posted on Twitter this picture and captioned it, "When my office is empty and I need some company, there we all are." Tech News Today, his kids, his chicken, bacon, and lettuce sandwich. This was my first time I've been pictured like this, so I'm very excited. I'm glad we can keep you company, awesome. Chips. So show us how you were watching TNT. You can tag your photos with How I Watch, and you can tag them on Twitter or Google Plus or Facebook, and we will find them. Christina, what are you working on today?
You know what? We're gearing up for the Apple event on Monday, like everybody else. I mean, I think it's all just kind of coming down to the wire. We've got a bunch of packages kind of planned to go out on Monday, so I'm working on some of that stuff. And actually, I'm about to go into a Mashable hangout that we do every week called Mash Talk, where we're going to kind of run down what happened at Mobile World Congress with one of our staffers who was there, and with kind of the rest of us who kind of provide a sundry commentary and whatnot.
So you're not coming out for the Apple event, are you?
I'm not. Lance Ulanoff and one of our photographers is going. I will be in New York, but I will be watching like everybody else. I'll be tuned in, live to the live stream, and obviously I'll be watching what you guys do. And I'm going to be very jealous that I don't actually have the opportunity to be there and put the Apple Watch on my wrist.
Right. Well, I don't think anyone will be just yet, but we hope that when you do come to San Francisco, you'll come and visit us in person.
Of course I will.
All right. Well, enjoy. Take your action figures to work day, please, and say hello to your baby Zuck for me.
I will. Thank you, Megan.
Christina Warren, Senior Tech Analyst at Mashable. And you can subscribe to Tech News Today on Stitcher, iTunes, YouTube, Feedly, Yahoo, RSS, many other options, new ones every day. Please leave us a review. Let us know how you like the show. You can choose your favorite way to subscribe at twit.tv/TN2. And you can watch us live every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC at live.twit.tv or on the app or browser plugin of your choice, which you can find at twit.tv/apps. And if you're ever in the San Francisco Bay Area, come on and watch us live. If you're coming to the Apple event on Monday, come on in and we'll give you a very soft chair to sit in. Follow us on Twitter at Tech News Today TV. And if you're a technology news fan, and if you're not, I'm not sure why you're still here, please come out and hang out with us at Google in our Google Plus community. Just search Google Plus for Tech News Today. And if you have a story idea, subscribe to our subreddit at technewstoday.reddit.com and leave a suggestion and vote stories up that you want to see or that you don't want to see. And let us know what you think. Send us an email at tnt@twit.tv or call 260-TNT-SHOW. Also, don't miss Tech News Tonight at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, every weeknight. I will be there tonight and next week too. And that is it for Tech News Today. Mike returns on Monday at 9 a.m. and we'll have live coverage of the Apple event at 10 a.m. Pacific. My name is Megan Morrone. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you Monday.